Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Irving working on Thomas. Gets around him, up, under, and in! Oh, what a move for Kyrie Irving!
Irving is 9 of 9, a steal! Irving at the horn! Oh, Kyrie! He is not human!
Since entering the NBA as the #1 overall pick in 2011, Kyrie Irving has emerged as one of the league's most dazzling talents. But he's also become one of the sporting world's most polarizing stars. So how did this Australian-born kid become such an entertaining enigma? This is the story behind Kyrie Irving. Kyrie was born to Drederick and Elizabeth Irving in Melbourne, spending the first 2 years of his life in Australia while his pops, who failed to make the Celtics after a collegiate career at Boston University, played professional basketball down under. After relocating to the States, Irving grew up in West Orange, New Jersey, where his love for the game and his grand ambitions for the future took shape. Irving lost his mother to a sudden illness when he was only 4. Leaving Drederick to raise Kyrie and his 2 sisters as a single father. The former pro would even bring his children to his Pro-Am or Men's League games in the New York area. They would sit at the end of the bench and watch. If they needed something, I'd call a timeout and tend to the kids. Kyrie soaked up his father's passion, and after playing on the then New Jersey Nets court as a 4th grader during a trip with his youth team, Irving penned the following note: "I will play in the NBA. I promise." As Irving matured, that grade 4 promise began to look like a realistic option for the talented young guard. Irving's high school career tipped off at Montclair Kimberly Academy, but seeking a greater challenge after dominating as a freshman and sophomore, he transferred to St. Patrick's High School, where he would share the court with Michael Kidd-Gilchrist and establish himself as one of the best point guard prospects in the nation.
Jam good for number 11, Kyrie Irving.
It's worth highlighting how much of an unknown Kyrie was when he arrived at Powerhouse St. Patrick. As teammate Christopher Gibson described, he didn't have facial hair, had a big head. He just looked like a squirrel. We called him Squirrel Boy. How are you supposed to be good and we never even heard your name before? By the end of his high school career, Irving was an All-American, was featured on the US Junior National Select Team, and was considered the 2nd best recruit in the class of 2010, behind Harrison Barnes. His next arena to conquer was Cameron Indoor Stadium. As Kyrie committed to Coach K and Duke, joining a typically loaded Blue Devils team that included Seth Curry, Kyle Singler, Ryan Kelly, remember him, and the Plumlee brothers. Irving delivered for Duke early on, averaging better than 17 points and 5 assists on 53% shooting in his first 8 NCAA games.
See, this Duke team plays much faster than the team did last year.
That guy is a big reason why. As the tough layup goes for Irving.
Before the injury bug took its first of many bites out of him. Kyrie injured his right big toe in Duke's 9th game of the season, and didn't return until the NCAA tournament, where he led the Blue Devils to the Sweet 16. Kyrie poured in 28 points on 9 of 15 shooting against Arizona, but it wasn't enough. Duke's season came to a disappointing end, and Irving declared for the draft after only suiting up in 11 games for the Blue Devils. Despite that limited collegiate action, Irving was basically considered a consensus #1 pick by the time the 2011 draft rolled around, where the Cleveland Cavaliers, fresh off their first season of futility in the original post-LeBron era, owned the #1 pick.
With the first pick in the 2011 NBA draft, the Cleveland Cavaliers select Kyrie Irving from Duke University.
As had been the case at Duke, Kyrie made the most of his limited time as an NBA freshman, averaging better than 18 points and 5 assists as a 19-year-old rookie during the lockout-shortened 2011-12 season, while shooting a hair under 40% from deep.
9 on the clock. 7 on the clock. Irving spins in traffic and gets a layup with 2.6 on the clock.
The Cavs didn't come close to sniffing the playoffs that year, but the Rookie of the Year's ascension to becoming a household name continued during the postseason anyway, as it was during the spring of 2012 that we were first introduced to Uncle Drew.
Don't reach, young blood. Don't reach. Don't reach, young blood.
Let's go, Uncle Drew!
Between the success of those Pepsi ads and Irving's production on the court, it didn't take long to figure out Kyrie would soon be one of the faces of the NBA. And by the end of his third season in the league, 22-year-old Kyrie was already a 20-plus per game scorer, a two-time All-Star, and an All-Star Game MVP while teasing the clutch heroics that would come in the future.
Sizing up Anderson, long three. The ball! Kyrie Irving! I cannot believe you've done it again!
As other youngsters have come to understand, however, it doesn't take long for fresh-faced NBA stars to go from endearing golden boys in the eyes of fans and pundits to magnets for criticism, with every flaw picked apart. The knock on Kyrie was obvious. No one doubted how entertaining of a baller he was. But through 3 individually productive seasons, the Cavs had compiled a record of 78 wins and 152 losses, with Irving missing 49 games due to various injuries over those 3 seasons. The guy was barely into his early 20s and was already being labeled the type of empty-calorie star you can't win with. Luckily for Cavs fans, they would no longer have to worry about whether a team led by Kyrie Irving could win, because thanks in large part to Irving's presence in Cleveland, LeBron was willing to return in 2014, and after winning the lottery for the 3rd time in 4 years, Cleveland later traded number 1 overall pick Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota in a summer blockbuster for Kevin Love. In the span of weeks, Kyrie went from the best player on a terrible, irrelevant team to the 2nd or 3rd best player on a loaded, all-time team with championship expectations.
Cavaliers push it every chance.
Give him a good angle to make the pass, and LeBron lays it in.
The James, Irving, Love Big Three would go to 4 straight finals, but a lot happened along the way. After Kelly Olynyk tried to pull Kevin Love's arm apart like a chicken wing in the first round of the 2015 playoffs, Irving suffered a knee fracture in Game 1 of the finals, leaving LeBron and Matthew Dellavedova all alone in a valiant 6-game defeat against Golden State's emerging dynasty. A year later, Kyrie and the Cavs would redeem themselves in the most iconic way possible, rallying back from a 3-1 deficit against the 73-win Warriors in the 2016 finals, with Irving matching James's 41 points in Game 5 and then knocking down one of the biggest shots in NBA history in Game 7.
Trying to get him on Irving. Irving and Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good! Kyrie Irving from downtown!
Every story needs a climax, and for Irving and the Cavs, things would only unravel from there. The Cavs barely had time to flush the champagne out of their system before learning that those 73-win Warriors would be adding Kevin Durant, and that for all intents and purposes, though LeBron would never accept it, Cleveland and the rest of the league would now be playing for 2nd place. The 2016-17 version of the Cavs was actually the best team Cleveland fielded during its 4-year finals run, and Irving put together perhaps his finest season, averaging roughly 25 points and 6 assists on 47-40-91 shooting splits, while suiting up for 72 games. But those mighty 2017 Cavs ran into the mightier Warriors, who swiftly dispatched of Cleveland in 5 games. And despite the team's success as a whole, tensions began boiling over well before the finals, leading to speculation throughout the season that perhaps the James-Irving partnership wasn't made for the long haul.
I think a lot of it's been overblown. I think the people that are in this building every day haven't seen any of that animosity. This is, and along with Kevin Love, this is a group that has got us to 3 straight finals and won an NBA championship together. They play great together on the floor, and a lot of that I do think is overblown, and we haven't seen a lot of this animosity that sort of have been out there in the media.
It was also during the 2016-17 season that the world got its first whiff of Kyrie's asinine flat earther beliefs and his affinity for conspiracy theories.
This is not even
How the
conspiracy.
Earth is flat.
Yeah, no, the Earth is flat.
Oh, here we go.
The Earth is flat. I think you need to do research on it. Like ultimately,
But
I'm
who's
not
to
gonna,
say the research that you do is going to give you the answer? Like,
Oh, it's-
who
oh, it's
actually
gonna-
has the answer?
because it's right in front of our faces. I'm telling you, it's right in front of our faces.
On that same podcast with teammates Richard Jefferson and Channing Frye, Irving also went into theories about the Federal Reserve assassinating JFK and the CIA trying to kill Bob Marley. Kyrie did apologize to science teachers the next year, but it probably didn't help his case in the court of public opinion that the tongue-in-cheek apology came in the same conversation that included these words.
Voice, and even if you believe in that, it's like well, don't come out and say that stuff. That's for intimate conversations, because perception, while you're received, it just changes. Like, no, I'm actually a smart-ass individual. Like, no, it's just like, so it's not like.
Anyway, Irving demanded a trade out of Cleveland in the summer of 2017, and reports later emerged that Kyrie would have been willing to skip training camp if he didn't get his way.